Imagine this. You're a total stranger in a foreign land, a place of just staggering wealth, but also terrifying power, where your entire life could be turned upside down in an instant. And I'm not talking about a fantasy novel here. This is the true story of a 14th century traveler whose journey into India gives us one of the most vivid, detailed portraits of a world we thought was lost to history.
So this is the India that our traveler, Ibn Battuta, walked into. It was a place defined by these really powerful contradictions. On one hand, you had overflowing riches and incredible opportunities, but on the other, there were these strict, unforgiving laws and the constant threat of sudden danger. This was the world he had to figure out how to survive in.
And that man was Ibn Battuta, truly one of the greatest travelers in history. He was born in Morocco, but his curiosity just had no limits, and it led him on this unbelievable adventure that, frankly, makes other journeys from that time look like a walk in the park. His goal? The fabled, almost mythical lands of the East. Now get this, before he even set foot in India, Ibn Battuta's journey was already the stuff of legend. I mean, he'd already spent years on the road, crossing North Africa, the Middle East, all the way through Central Asia. This wasn't just some trip, it was an epic quest that proved he was a seasoned, respected, and incredibly tough world traveler. Okay, so this brings us to the main event, his arrival in the powerful Delhi Sultanate. This is really where his journey shifts, you know? It goes from just travel to a deep dive, a total immersion into a brand new civilization. The year is 1333, and talk about timing. He arrives right in the middle of the reign of one of the most complex and powerful rulers in Indian history, Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq. The stage couldn't be set for more drama.
He comes into India through the legendary Khyber Pass, the gateway for centuries of travelers and conquerors. And right away, those contradictions are just laid bare for him to see. He sees incredible prosperity, these bustling cities and rich, fertile farmlands. But at the same time, he witnesses the system of justice that was so swift and severe, it was impossible to look away.
So let's zoom in on the heart of the Sultanate. His destination was the capital, Delhi, a city that perfectly captured this split personality of total magnificence and constant menace. You have to imagine what this must have been like for a traveler like Ibn Battuta. Delhi was breathtaking. It was a true global metropolis, a hub of commerce and culture. The architecture, the crowded markets, just the sheer scale of the place. It was all designed to scream one thing: the immense, unquestionable power of the Sultan. And then, Ibn Battuta's life changes, just like that. The Sultan finds out about his deep knowledge of Islamic law, and he doesn't just welcome him, he makes him a Qazi, a judge. And we're not talking about some small-time gig here. This job came with a huge salary, gifts, prestige, and direct access to the royal court. For an outsider, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It was unbelievable. But here's the catch. This amazing opportunity came with a massive risk because it meant serving the man at the center of it all, the brilliant, the generous, and the terrifyingly unpredictable Sultan, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. And this is really the core of the whole drama. The Sultan was a walking paradox. On one hand, the guy was a genius, a patron of arts and sciences, showering scholars with gifts. But on the other hand, he was an absolute tyrant, incredibly suspicious and capable of the most extreme cruelty. Just try to imagine working for a boss who might give you a fortune one day and then have you executed the next. That was the daily reality in his court. And Ibn Battuta says it himself. This fear wasn't just for the average person on the street. Nobody was safe. High-ranking officials, powerful nobles, even judges, like Ibn Battuta himself, were living under this constant cloud, just knowing that the Sultan's mood could turn on a dime, and that would be it. But, beyond all the dangerous court politics, Ibn Battuta was at his core just a really meticulous observer. His high-ranking position gave him this incredible front-row seat to document the society and customs of 14th century India like no one else could. What's so amazing is that he wrote down everything. He described complex social structures like the caste system, the day-to-day interactions between different religious communities, and the incredibly sophisticated network of trade and buzzing markets. And you know what really impressed him? The infrastructure. He talks about these well-maintained roads and rest houses that made travel across this vast country actually possible. But for all his attempts to understand this new world, some things were just too much. He witnessed the practice of sati, and he was just deeply, profoundly disturbed by it. You can almost feel his shock coming off the page. It's this powerful moment where the curious, observant traveler is just left completely horrified. His travels eventually took him far away from Delhi, all the way down to the southwestern coast of India. And here he saw a totally different side of the country. He was absolutely blown away by the Malabar coast, describing it as this vibrant international hub of commerce, a critical link in the trade routes connecting Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. So after spending years in India, his time there comes to this really dramatic and unexpected end. But the story of how he left is just as important as how he arrived, because it's what led to his incredible, lasting legacy. So the Sultan, in another one of his wild swings of favor, appoints Ibn Battuta as his ambassador to China. I mean, this was the mission of a lifetime. But it turned into a complete and utter catastrophe. His ship was wrecked in a storm, he lost everything, all the Sultan's gifts, his own personal wealth. His grand diplomatic mission completely collapsed before it even really began. After that disaster, he finally made his way back home, and it was there that he sat down and dictated his incredible story. The result was his book, the Rihla, which simply means the journey. And it is this book that has preserved his priceless, first-hand account of the medieval world for us today. So why is this book such a big deal? Well, because it's basically a time capsule from the perspective of an outsider. Through his eyes, we get the unfiltered details of the Sultan's court, the specifics of social customs that maybe locals wouldn't have even bothered to write down, and what daily life was truly like almost 700 years ago. Honestly, without the Rihla, our understanding of this whole period of Indian history would have huge gaps. Ibn Battuta's outsider perspective gives us details and insights that local writers might have just taken for granted. He saw India with fresh eyes, and for that, historians will forever be in his debt. Which kind of leaves us with one last thought, right? Ibn Battuta's story is all about his journey through a land of crazy contrasts, of wealth and poverty, generosity and cruelty, tradition and change. If a traveler with his keen eye were to journey through our world today, what stunning and maybe uncomfortable contradictions do you think they would find?